Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Guy Smith, Chairman of the Board of Intellicheck and Chairman of this meeting. I hereby call this 2026 Annual Meeting of Stockholders to order. On behalf of my fellow directors and the officers of the company, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this annual meeting. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce directors and officers of the company who are participating virtually today. Dondi Black, Director. Greg Brockett, Director. Dylan Glenn, Director. Brian Lewis, Chief Executive Officer and Director. David E. Allman, Director. The company will take written questions from stockholders regarding the proxy only and will answer questions presented by stockholders after the meeting has ended. I've asked Adam Stragovich to act as Secretary of this meeting and to record the minutes. Before considering the business to be taken up at this meeting, I would like Adam to report on the formal steps taken in connection with this meeting.
Mr. Chairman, the Board of Directors has adopted resolutions which provide that this meeting be held today and which fix the close of business on March 23, 2026 as the record date for the determination of stockholders entitled to notice and to vote at this meeting. I hereby present the affidavit of Robert Zabriskie, an employee of Continental Stock Transfer and Trust Company, the company's transfer agent, which states that the notice of the 2026 Annual Meeting of Stockholders, proxy statement, and proxy card were mailed on or about April 6, 2026 to each holder of the company's common stock at the close of business on the record date.
Thank you, Adam. I would like to file the affidavit as to the mailing of the proxy materials in the minute book of the meeting with the minutes of this meeting. If there are any persons participating virtually who are proxies for stockholders and have not yet voted their shares, please do so now. Are there any stockholders present and participating virtually who have not voted and desire to do so? Please vote now. Are there any stockholders present and participating virtually who have submitted a proxy but now desire to change any of their votes on your original proxy card? Please vote now. I hereby appoint Vito Cerrone, an employee of the Continental Stock Transfer and Trust Company, the company's transfer agent, to act as an Inspector of Election of this meeting. The Inspector has executed an oath to carry out his duties impartially and to the best of his ability. He will distribute and collect the ballots and count the votes.
Mr. Chairman, I present to you electronically the oath I signed as the Inspector of Election.
The oath of the Inspector of Election will be filed with the minutes of this meeting. Will the Inspector now provide us with a count of the stockholders present in person or by proxy?
Mr. Chairman, I can report that a preliminary count indicates the presence of a quorum. I am in the process of completing a count of all stockholders present, participating virtually or by proxy, and will render an exact report at the end of the meeting.
Since the holders of record of a majority of the voting power of outstanding shares of common stock of the company entitled to vote at this meeting are present in person or by proxy, I declare that a quorum is present. The first order of business is the election of 6 directors. The persons receiving a plurality of the votes of the shares present in person or represented by proxy shall be elected. Each director will hold that position for a term of 1 year and until his successor has been duly elected and qualified. Nominations for directors were made by the Nomination and Governance Committee of the company's Board of Directors, and the 6 nominees were included in the ballots included in the proxy materials mailed to stockholders. The second order of business is the approval of the appointment of Forvis Mazars, LLP, as the company's independent auditors for the 2026 fiscal year. The Audit Committee of the Board of Directors appointed Forvis Mazars, and this appointment was included in the ballots included in the proxy materials mailed to the stockholders. The third order of business is the approval of advisory votes to approve compensation of our named executive officers. This advisory vote was included in the ballots included in the proxy materials mailed to the shareholders. The fourth order of business is the approval of the frequency of future advisory votes to approve executive compensation. This advisory vote was included in the ballots included in the proxy materials mailed to the shareholders. I now call for votes for the approval of the election of directors, the approval of the appointment of Forbes Mazars as the company's independent auditors for the 2026 fiscal year, the approval of the advisory votes to approve compensation for our named executive officers, and the approval of the frequency of future advisory votes to approve executive compensation. I now declare the polls closed with respect to the election of directors, the approval of the appointment of Forbes Mazars as the company's independent auditors for the 2026 fiscal year, the approval of the advisory votes to approve compensation for our named executive officers, and the approval of the frequency of future advisory votes to approve executive compensation. Now, I would like to have the Inspector of Election complete his report showing a final count of the stock represented here today in person or by proxy and the tally of votes cast regarding each proposal.
As the Inspector of Election, I hereby report that there are, on a preliminary count, 15,191,638 shares of common stock entitled to vote, represented at this meeting, either in person or by proxy, comprising approximately 75.6061% of the voting power of outstanding common stock of the company.
Thank you, Mr. Shironi. I declare that based on the information you have given me and the preliminary report of the Inspector of Elections, through a plurality of shares voted, John D. Black, Greg Baca, Dylan Glenn, Brian Lewis, David Ullman, and I, Guy Smith, have each been elected to serve as a director of the company for a one-year term. The appointment of Forbes Mazars as independent auditors of the company has been approved. The advisory votes to approve compensation of our named executive officers has been approved. The frequency of future advisory votes to approve executive compensation has been approved for 1 year.
This is Brian Lewis, and I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Adam Stragovich, I second the motion.
There being no objections to the motion made to adjourn this meeting, I hereby declare this meeting adjourned, and I want to thank all of our shareholders who were participating for being with us today. Thank you very much and have a good day.